Thank you very much, Alistair. That was really inspiring and lots of detail on the kind of air quality challenges we face. Moving on to the next session, so just to introduce myself briefly, I'm Professor Laurence Jones. I work at UK Centre for Ecology and Hydrology, where I have oversight of the sort of urban research we do across all our strands of research. So I'm part of the core committee of Reclaim. And actually in this next session, we've got talks by, we've got talks giving a 5-minute overview of a lot of key resources that we and you as a network have built up over the last couple of years in Reclaim. So we've got a few sessions by Neria, Thomas, Prashant, that, all key core members of the network. And then we have a slot from Issy and Karina, who respectively got funding either for research projects, fellowships, or part of the review process. So it's going to be a kind of high-level snapshot of some of the key resources. These will all be available through the website. So it's resources for you as network members. So I will actually start off. I'm going to have to chair myself on this. It's going to be 5 minutes each, so we are going to have to be tight. And we're a little bit behind schedule. So the GBGI database. So when we were putting the network together, coming up with ideas from the network, talking to practitioners, people working in city authorities, landscape architects, a key theme that everyone was talking about was how to make sense of the vast amount of information that's out there. And there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. There's thousands of papers around green infrastructure. What benefit does it give to us? And the problem is some of that information is confused. It's, sometimes it's hard for us as academics to make sense of all of this. Some of this evidence is more robust than others. And really there was a need to kind of pull out the key elements. What are the key messages? What's the kind of robust, reliable information that can help practitioners make decisions on a day-to-day basis? So that was the aim of the database, was to put this information in one place in a way that you can access it. So this is built on a series of data synthesis reviews, and Prashant will introduce those later. But it's also pulling together some of the data from the primary data that we funded under Reclaim through the funded projects, and again, you'll hear about those. But also it's a chance for people to put their own case studies in the system. So I'll just very briefly explain what we've been doing. So what you see on the graphic at the moment is where locations of all the papers and the research that we've collated together. So we literally scanned hundreds of thousands of papers to kind of synthesize the evidence. And the key bits, the papers that had useful data, we've put into a kind of database that you can interrogate. So you can search for, let's say you've got a noise hotspot that you want to deal with, or part of the town or city where you are that suffers during heat waves, particularly, or you want to increase well-being locally. You've got a particular challenge that you're interested in. You've got an array of possible green space interventions that you could make. You could do some tree planting, you could create a pocket park. You don't know what to do. What's the best thing to deal with this particular challenge? Or do you want something that's multifunctional? So the idea is you can select different elements that you're interested in. It'll bring up, on the left in that little graphic, you can see it's got a list of all the papers that provide the evidence, so you can actually delve into those papers if you want to. Or you can get average data about the efficiency of these different types of GBGI. And you can enter your own case studies as well. So if you've got information, you've managed to fund a small project, you can put that information, the sort of synthesized information, into the system. So we're still, as Prashant mentioned, we're still sort of finalizing how the database will actually look. But the idea is, as I said, you can sort of select, you can filter. So let's say you're interested in a particular challenge. It might be noise mitigation. You want to pick the types of kind of things that are in your armory. If you want to, if you can only plant wildflowers, what benefit is that going to have for noise mitigation? Probably not very much. But if you don't know that, you literally know nothing about noise. This is a chance to sort of see what the key things are. So, trees, are they more effective than wildflower planting along roadside verges, for example? And so ultimately, you'll be able to get an average of sort of, robust data and the various studies that have done that, and it'll give you an efficiency, the rough amount percentage reduction of air pollution, for example, by different types of green infrastructure. So that's the aim. We're still sort of finalizing it with the developer at the moment and making sure that those numbers make sense. So you're not averaging, number of particles of PM deposited on leaves versus a change in concentration. So you've got to have, this has got to make sense from an academic side of it. It's got to be robust science. So you're only averaging and making sense of numbers that are directly comparable. And it is challenging because it's such a big topic, and that's what we're working through at the moment. But we're nearly there, and we will update you through the network when it's ready to view and to play with. So I will hand over to Thomas now to talk about the funded projects.
Thank you, Laurence. Yeah, so as part of the Reclaim network, one of the objectives was to create a community and a network as a part of that. The network decided to fund opportunities to expand the research network, to bring in new partners. So we commissioned, we sent out a call, commissioned for research projects, because one of the things that keep coming back when you discuss these themes that we already heard is the lack of evidence. So we put out a call for research projects that was addressing issues that had to do with the lack of evidence. Can you fill this gap of the effectiveness of these nature-based solutions? And particularly, the emphasis here was on taking these research projects, had to take a holistic view, and they had to address issues of multifunctionality. So it wasn't enough just to look at, say, air quality. It had to have air quality and something else. So we have to, there's this sort of idea of multifunctionality of nature-based solutions had to be addressed. And so we put out a call of 3 themes: proof of concept, performance of existing interventions, and complexity of benefits, and who and where and when. And this was a very popular call, and we got more submissions than we had money for, so we had to go through a panel process of ranking them. At the end, we funded 9 different projects. The list is up here, addressing a variety of aspects of nature-based solutions from lots of different research groups across the country. So I think we consider this to be a very successful part of the Reclaim network. It has certainly broadened out. The network has brought new people in, new expertise. So I think overall this has been a very positive, activity. I'm not going to go through all of them. You can see the names of the people up there, and lots of people are at the conference here, so I'm sure you can catch them. We also asked, there's a list of all these projects on the website, but we've also asked the project leads to make videos, small videos that capture them, and I think we have some examples of them coming up here. So click again, I think. Hopefully, here we go.
A case study project in Rhyl, North Wales, funded by the Reclaim Network Plus, was undertaken by Bangor University and the UK Centre for Ecology and Hydrology. We worked in partnership with Denbighshire County Council to estimate the benefits of planting new trees and wildflower meadows in Rhyl. The response of local residents to these schemes was extremely positive. with around 3/4 saying they wanted more trees and wildflower meadows. With funding from the Reclaim Network Plus, researchers from the Sustainability Research Institute at the University of East London undertook a project to investigate the impact of domestic gardens on local air quality and temperatures. Homes that boasted vegetative barriers were observed to have an enhanced air quality of between 9% in the autumn season and up to 78% in the summer when compared to open gardens.
Researchers at the Centre for Environmental Policy at Imperial College London undertook a project funded by the Reclaim Network Plus, examining some of the influences on green space use and access. The project elucidates several key barriers relating to creating diverse and inclusive green spaces, such as establishing effective communication channels with local residents and including participants from diverse backgrounds.
Funded by the Reclaim Network Plus, the Live GBGI project explored the effectiveness of GBGI in mitigating various environmental hazards, such as heat waves, droughts, floods, and noise pollution. Expanding their activities at the Guildford Living Lab, run by the Global Centre for Clean Air Research, GCARE, the Live GBGI team installed temperature sensors in 7 types of locations. GBGI areas consistently reduce temperatures by 5 to 10 degrees Celsius compared to urban areas. Enter Sandfield Primary School, nestled in Guildford's bustling heart. Here, a coalition of minds, Guildford Living Lab, part of the University of Surrey's Global Centre for Clean Air Research, together with community groups such as Zero Carbon Guildford, the school, parents and local authorities united to tackle the challenge. Thanks to the Reclaim Network Plus grant funding, we teamed up to co-design a solution to the high level of air pollution on school grounds. Research findings revealed that the Living Green Gate slashed traffic-generated fine particles by up to 44% and noise by 5 decibels. Furthermore, the green screen's impact on air pollution was a reduction of up to 31%. Researchers from UWE Bristol, funded by the Reclaim Network Plus, have undertaken a study to explore the relationships between green-blue-grey infrastructure, GBGI, and various health and social outcomes in Bristol neighbourhoods. We've long understood the benefits of living near green spaces and are starting to uncover those of blue infrastructure, like rivers and lakes. However, no comprehensive assessment has considered the potential of green, blue and grey infrastructure to improve urban well-being. This highlights that provision of green spaces alone is not enough. The quality and usability of these spaces are also important factors to consider.
Yeah, so thank you very much. So you could see this is like just a snapshot of the video. So these videos are available on the YouTube channel. So they are a little bit longer. So they talks about what is the aim, what's the object, what was done, and what was the key findings and recommendations. So you're most welcome to visit the channel. I'm going to talk a few other activities of the Reclaim. So I'll start with the synthesis review. So that's one of the key kind of the technical activities. We set it out, and the whole idea of this activity was to synthesize the existing information on how green-blue infrastructure affects or mitigate air pollution. That was one. Urban cooling, water flow, noise, biodiversity, carbon sequestration, and mental health and well-being. So these were the 7 areas we considered. So far, 3 of them on air pollution, urban overheating, and biodiversity has been published. I will give you a brief overview of them. And the rest of the 4 are in advanced stage of submission, so we can have actually this data there. So the first of these reviews, the synthesis reviews, where a number of colleagues who are sitting here were also involved, including the colleagues from the Met Office And these were like 29 co-authors from 26 institutions, including some of the colleagues across, the overseas. So the whole idea of this work was to look into, firstly, how many types of GBGI you can think of. So that was one of the things. So we built some of the work which has been done by Professor Laurence Jones to expand the types of, the typology of the GBGI. And you will be surprised to know that we counted around 51. And these are listed actually in this graphical abstract. So there are 51 different types of GBGI you could see. Obviously, there could be more as well. And the whole idea there was to look into what is the efficacy which has been published in the literature of different types of GBGI or the mixed type of GBGIs. It was quite a difficult exercise because sometimes they use different, the different measurement metrics. The methodologies are different, but we try to kind of generalize as much as we can. And one of the key findings actually there was that while they do help actually with the, the reduction of the temperature, as you can see that little graph in the going forward, you could also see there are a number of these, these ones which are looking into not in the, the gold color, are the ones where you literally have no evidence base, as Professor Lewis was saying earlier. So a lot of this stuff is done on the expert judgment. So there is a huge gap in terms of the scientific evidence on what is the efficacy of these type of green-blue infrastructure. Then the next one was that just came out very recently in the same series was on the air pollution. And again, we had a very diverse, the team from 32 co-authors coming from 29 institutions. And the whole idea there was to use actually the same typology of the GBGI, but this time look into the air pollution reduction perspective. Again, there was a huge challenges in terms of comparing the data because the units were different, the methodologies were different, and there was quite a bit of the diversity in the way people present the efficacy there. So we tried to summarize some of them, but again, if you see, loads of them actually are in, this time in the gold there, are the ones where there is literally no evidence base. And out of 51, there were only around 6 or 7 where we could find 3 or more studies which provide the comparable data set. So there is a huge, again, gap actually which has been highlighted to fill by the, the research activities in future. And the third one which was published and led by the UKCH was around the biodiversity, again, to see actually how the GBGIs are linked with the biodiversity. So again, these were the 3, and I think we will have more coming up, so we will keep you posted on that. So the next kind of the activity which is currently ongoing is this CPD courses. So all around these 7 areas, we teamed up to create the CPD courses. So which is like an hour each. So this is more like a training the people or giving them the information, and these are designed in a way that we could have the 3 sections in each of these, let's say the courses, which talks about the basic background. So you don't need to be expert to do them, and they will be free of charge. So we are currently getting that kind of coded and getting them online there. And there are 7 different units there. So you could see that air pollution, urban heating, water flow, noise, biodiversity, carbon sequestration, and equity, health, and well-being. So these units basically, and then got little questions in the end as well after each unit. Each section within a unit, so you can test your knowledge, and then it gives you a certificate of, that you have completed this, this course there. So this is one of the ongoing activities, and the first one we are hoping to launch in February. But if any of you are interested in contributing to any of these CPD course areas, so please do let us know, and we'll be very happy to kind of work together with you on that. So this will be a free resource for everyone. And we are quite excited actually to get them out there. As I said, 3 sections on each of them. One of them, the background, then presenting some case studies, including the micro scale and the global synthesis. The global synthesis comes from the reviews which we have done. And then providing some recommendations in the future for the reading, in a sense that you got basically the different type of the resources like the reports, the guidances, the videos, and the policy briefs, and so on. So we're quite excited to launch that thing. So just we'll keep you posted. If you're not a member network, then join the network. It's just a link on the webpage there. It's free. And then you'll start getting that kind of, the information there. So the third activity, which I'm going to talk about, is the webinar series. And we're really proud of that we have delivered 32 webinars so far. And out of these 32 webinars, we have 66 speakers, or I should say 33 actually, to be very precise. And all these speakers are coming from academic and non-academic backgrounds. So we got businesses there, we got counselors, we got the groups who have been developing those case studies, mixed with the the academic research as well. So the whole idea there was to provide the platform to the people so that they can share the key findings with others and they can learn from each other. All of them have been recorded, so you can go into the Reclaim channel, and all of them are there. And we started them, even the first month when the network started, and we haven't missed a single one. So it's really a proud thing to do, especially to thanks our the colleagues Charlotte and Mark to manage these things so efficiently. I guess this is a little kind of video on the webinar series. So you can see who presented. It's just like a brief short actually. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Prashant Kumar. Welcome to the Reclaim Network Plus webinar series. So this network, has grown quite a lot since it started 2 years back.
We're working in places that have limited space. Space is at a premium, but if we can narrow down the square areas of space that we're taking, i.e. by putting on roofs or walls, we can then make a dramatic difference by introducing green infrastructure into those spaces.
Help mitigate that pollution is to put living walls here, which are, especially ones if we've got trees growing or large shrubs, they're really good at trapping particulates and they'll filter them out.
If you don't want milk in your coffee, don't put milk in your coffee and stir it in and then try and remove it. That's essentially the problem you're trying to solve. So don't put the air pollution there in the first place.
In Glasgow, we're trying to embed some of that within our open space strategy. This is what we used as the example within the Connecting Nature project, where we said we would try and figure out how you could embed nature-based solutions into policy and strategy.
The pollutants soak into the soil, they're taken up by the plants, they're broken down by microorganisms and sunshine, and that device also delivers magnificent flood risk management.
Information about ecosystem services can guide decision making and support protection and management of natural ecosystems, including in urban areas, to ensure sustainable flow of benefits for current and future generations.
So what we do is someone who does fluid mechanics, that we just try to build a model which is simple, which we can put into our LES, but can still have enough sophistications that we can later on ask biologies to put the actual behavior of the trees in.
And as you can see, it's a coastal town, and it does have urban challenges because it's some of the most deprived wards in Wales are in Rhyl.
Here it's a reopening of a former stream in the city of Sarcelles in the north of Paris.
But what is really interesting, what I wanted to show you, is we can look at soil moisture. We can also look at air temperature online.
So again, we have the emissions from the traffic. We get some dispersion from the vegetation, so increase with the cleaner air above.
To say that, so thanks again to the fantastic speakers over the last, the few years. All these videos are available online, so you can go more in detail. We just picked a few actually just to give a kind of taster of these, the webinars. And I would like to finish this by saying that it's an open invitation to all of you. If any of you are interested to be a speaker in the upcoming webinar So please do send an email to any of the team members, and we'd love to have you as part of our webinar series. This will continue until August 2025 for sure, but we are aiming actually to continue this momentum, going forward, because that has been a very fruitful, the exercise to bring together the different experiences. Now, without any further ado, I'm going to invite the next speaker, Dr. Izzy Bray from UW Bristol. She'll talk about the workshops, and I will also ask Karina to come and sit there so we save some time as the next speaker there. So over to you.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. So I'm Dr. Izzy Bray from the University of the West of England in Bristol. And I've been asked just to say a few words about the workshops, which is one of the activities, the network activities that Prashant mentioned earlier. So you can see here that since autumn 23, between autumn 23 and autumn 24, 12 workshops have been funded. And these geographically have been very spread out, say from the southwest, Plymouth and Bristol, to the southeast, Surrey and London, up through to Birmingham, Bangor and Edinburgh. So a really nice geographical spread, and of course also a spread in terms of the topics, which you can see there. So I won't go through all of those, but for each of them there is a blog on the Reclaim website. So if you wanted to see more about any of these workshops, you can look at those blogs. So then I'll just say a little bit more about our workshop. So our Reclaim project used data from the Bristol City Council Quality of Life survey. And when I presented that here, actually, in September 23, I realised that there was quite a lot of interest in accessing that type of data in other areas across the UK. So we decided off the back of our Reclaim project to host a workshop. And the aim of that was to discuss the value of this kind of local survey data for both academic and service work on health and the built environment. So our workshop was attended by a really wide range of people from different local authorities, but also other organisations such as the West of England Combined Authority and the Forest of Avon Trust. So in the morning, we had some presentations from us at UE, researchers on how we'd use this data, also from Bristol City Council on how they collect the data, and from people in the Bristol Public Health team about how important this data is locally for their analyses on local population health. We had a nice walk at lunchtime. It was very wet, but we went out to look at some of the green, blue, grey infrastructure in Bristol City Centre in the rain. And then in the afternoon, we had some roundtable discussions. And these were actually, the topics were actually decided during the day. So we listened to participants. We had an exercise where they sort of said what would be most useful to them to talk about. And we came up with these 4 topics. So we were looking at the practicalities of doing a quality of life survey. If you wanted to set one up, what does that actually involve? How to scale it up. Is there a possibility of scaling this up to a regional level, possibly? If you can't collect quality of life survey data in your local area, because it's quite expensive, quite resource intensive, what are the alternatives? And we had a really nice session with people talking about what's going on in their local authorities that might be seen as alternatives for collecting this kind of data. And then we had a more general discussion as well about the relationships between green space and health. So based on feedback, participants found this really useful. It was certainly very lively discussions. And for us as well, as university researchers, we found it was a really nice way to connect with some of our stakeholders. So yeah, it was a really good day, and it's led to some quite interesting conversations and follow-ups with people who attended. So I think my job now is just to advertise the next round of these workshops. So the deadline is the 6th of February. There's a QR code if you want to find out more. The funding's up to 2,500, which to be used however you need to organise your workshop, whether that be for venue or food or travel. So I would encourage you to apply. And I think that's it from me. And I'm handing over to Karina.
Hello, everyone. I'm Karina Corada, and I talk about the visiting researcher. I have been granted by different resources by Reclaim. One of them is this one, the visiting researchers. So during my summer, I applied to come here to this wonderful campus, which is quite related to my study, which is green and blue infrastructure. And I do it for 2 reasons. One, because as an early career researcher, I want to extend my network. And the second one was collaborate, of course, with Prashant and with the Reclaim. And in this opportunity, I had 3 clear objectives. One was finish with the Reclaim project, was this clean air garden. Finish with the data and trying to write a paper about it, which is now under review for my colleagues. The second was finish another paper with Reclaim that Prashant presented before, this air pollution abatement from green and blue infrastructure. And the third one was continued collaboration between my home university, the University of East London, and Reclaim. So I'm very happy because this collaboration continued. This was a whole summer last year, and the collaboration, as I said, continue and a strong relationship, and is very good opportunity for early career researchers, but also maybe senior researchers that they can just book a time to work and collaborate in different areas of expertise that Reclaim has. Thank you.
Please apply now. Okay, hello, my name is Nerea Calvillo, and very early on in the process, we started realizing that there was a mismatch between the data that was being collected within all scientific reports and the images that were used to illustrate what GBGI are. So something that was a little bit strange was this distance between all the resolution that scientists were gathering, and yet how these GBGI were and still are very often described without people, without infrastructures, in sunny days in the UK, and everything is green and beautiful. But then we started wondering 2 things. A, how about using images as data that tell us not only how they look, but also how they're maintained, who uses them, what happens with seasons, all these things that are usually not considered in pictures. So basically to take images as data sources that help us understand the infrastructures, not only from their benefits, but also if we're thinking about policymaking, how can we understand how they work within society? Who uses them? Again, this is really, really important. So when we started searching for these images, we couldn't find them. If you go online, the only thing that you find if you look for a GBGI is these kind of images, which are really nice, but they're so limited in the imagination that we can have in terms of what they are and what they could be. So in order to kind of address this issue, we launched 2 different commissions. One, commissions to 3 artists that are based in forgotten cities, and this is always quote unquote, so that also the GBGI that are represented are not the stereotypical ones that are super successful in the middle of wealthy city centers, but actually how they look like in their everyday life, in towns that may not have so much investment or resources, and also to make to show that there's value in those too. So we commissioned these photograph books that depicted all the different typologies that we have been exploring in the database. So they had the same task, let's say, and then they developed a portfolio showing how these typologies look like in different cities. So we commissioned Alicia Bruce, Robin Chadad-Duke, and Alistair Dublin. And we also launched an international competition in order to expand also the climatic conditions, because we've been working in the UK, but the systematic review is global. So how do we deal with different climates? How does a park look like in areas where there's not as much rain as we have here in the UK? So we got 350 entries from all over the world. It was really exciting to see the interest. And these are the winners. We had a professional jury to evaluate the proposals. And then we also wanted to establish not only what the best picture is, because then we get again to stereotypes of what a GBGI, a desirable one, looks like, but actually how different aspects might tell us different things. So best picture, but also what happens in forgotten cities. How difficult it is to find some GBGIs. So, of course, some we know, parks, lakes, but some others are not easy to find. So there was an interest in understanding what do we consider collectively as a GBGI and what we don't. And represented communities, we keep speaking about them. We've seen, for example, in the case of air pollution, during the keynote, that this is a crucial factor and a crucial potential for GBGI. But do we know who lives there, who uses it, how do they use it? We don't have this material, and pictures can be a very, very good research tool in order to get an understanding of these. And also something that is really important is whether we can expand what counts as a good infrastructure. And good doesn't mean necessarily, of course, they have multi-benefits, but also they can do so many other things. They can help certain communities. They can increase interconnection across different groups. There's so many things that they can do that we often forget because we don't have the image of it. So, or their natures, what counts as natural? This is something really, really important also to think about across climates. So, just to conclude, the objective of this was to create another database, a parallel database of images for public use. So we uploaded them. So you can find the artists in our webpage, and you can use them in your reports, in your studies, of course, accrediting the authors, but they're open source. And also the competition, we hosted it in Wikimedia. So you can find also the images there. So we hope that by engaging with different ways of depicting GBGIs, we can understand better their multi-benefits, but also how to imagine them differently. Thank you.